Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live.
I don't know. I laugh every time I hear that now. Every time. I need a mute button for myself.
Maybe. No, don't do it. No.
Yeah.
It's you're a funny guy.
I can
Gary,
be. I
you're a
can be.
funny guy. The fact that you
Yes.
laugh at your own jokes, it's funny.
Wow. That's true. I mean, I do. But when you're the funniest guy in the room, you got to laugh at your own
As long
jokes.
as you're by yourself.
So James Clingerman, what a story? Yeah, a story like none that we've had before.
Listen, I'll tell you this. If you don't listen to Road Radio, that's fine. You gotta listen to Clingerman's story.
Yeah, but if you don't listen to Roll Radio, how will they know to listen to Clingerman's story?
They should listen. Listen, if you didn't listen to this episode, you have to make a point out of it. Make a priority. Download it. Do it. It's mind blowing. And I said this before.
Almost literally.
Yeah.
Almost literally.
You're talking about the guy who lost a job, had to choose between his house and his gym, and only one, not both. He has to pick. And then he gets shot in the face. And I guess the most mind-blowing part is, I don't know about you, Gary, but my chin was down on the floor when he was talking about it step by step, how that shooting took place.
Yeah. It's funny when we talked to him just prior to recording, he said, yeah, that's the podcast story. But I mean, it's enormous. It's monumental in his life, but everything leading up to it and some stuff after, really, we always try and come up with a one-word episode title for these takeaways. And for me, it was resilience. You've got a kid with severe social anxiety, doesn't want to be in a group, but loves martial arts. So what's he do? He's going to the library and he's taking out books and he's watching videos. But obviously you're not learning that way, right? His dad says, all right, it's time. You've got to do something, right? You got to probably trying to get him out of his shell so that he has some sort of normalcy, and signs himself and James's little sister up.
It's a whole family event again.
Yeah, everybody's going. But I think James said at some point that dad and little sister checked out pretty quickly. It was about James. It was for James, right? And he was still, the anxiety didn't go away, but he was able to cope with it. He was able to deal with it. And he was able to continue on a martial arts journey as a kid, then as a little kid, and then as a teenager, he found jiu-jitsu. And then, the story really takes off there. But the things that have happened to him in his life that he bounced back from are really quite amazing. And, like you said, there's a point where, before that, there's a point where he's renting space out of a Taekwondo school to teach jiu-jitsu. And the owner says, hey, I found
You're going to tell everybody the entire story.
Well, I'm not going to tell the story. But there was a party, and he wasn't invited to it, let's just say. And he had to find a new space. And, he at this point, not making a lot of money. His wife isn't making a lot of money. What are they going to do? They keep pushing forward. They find a spot. They're going to open their own academy. And what happens right before they're going to open their own academy is
you got to listen to that.
Yeah. You know what? Anybody who Googles them, it's one of the first things that comes up.
Well,
right?
But yet it's so interesting, at least in my mind, because we both knew the story before we went into it, right?
Yeah.
We do our research and we talk to these these guys, these individuals ahead of time. So we, in a sense, we know what they are going to say. But yet, for me particularly, listening to somebody tell that story in their own words, the way how it felt, the decision that they made all throughout, it's really, really interesting. It is, in a way, I mean, just mind blowing to listen to somebody to talk while they're talking about their livelihood being put on the line. They have to make tough decisions. It's not what flavor bagel I'm going to eat. It is if I'm going to eat. You know, it is, these are tough choices that they are making all throughout. And then end of the day, look at James today. I mean, he's running one of the biggest jiu-jitsu academies in Indianapolis, or in
and
suburbs, and oldest. He was one of the very first ones out there. He's really knowledgeable, really successful. His name carries a prestige in jiu-jitsu community, and yet, all that didn't shape with unicorns and rainbows. It was not all pretty. I know I had to drop that in there. I know
it's been a while.
I was waiting for a good moment to do it. But listen, it wasn't all pretty. It wasn't. Matter of the fact, his story is far from pretty. Yeah. It is a lot of challenges and obstacles as they were folding.
Yeah, I think that literally, his life was on the line. Not
literally,
literally, his life was on the line, and he, 11 days later, opened that academy. Yeah. And as he went through his recovery from a random act of violence, he kept his place going with the support of friends and his amazing wife. And but it wasn't thriving yet, right? I'm sure, I come from the city of Chicago. There was jiu-jitsu schools around a lot longer, or before James opened his place. It's been available in Chicago for a long time. I'm wondering if in Indy it's probably different. So he wasn't making a ton of money, and it came to a point where, like you said, we got to give something up. What are we going to give up? And he made enormous sacrifices, and took some huge hits and some big losses, but kept going. Everything that you would think would knock somebody down, make them quit, make them give up. He was like, no, I gotta, there's no chance I'm quitting.
We got to get through this.
Yeah. We're gonna get through it.
There was a moment, not to reveal the whole story, but there was a moment when he was in ambulance after the shooting, and the paramedic was telling him, I remember this, he was telling him, close your eyes, relax. And he's like, I'm not closing my eyes. No, this is not it. And this kind of, it was an eye-opening moment for me listening to the story. It's like, this is the guy who literally suffered probably the closest to the end that it can be, and he's still unwilling to give up, right? The ability, his mental ability to continue coming back, continue fighting, continue, there is more to this. I'm not stopping at this moment. That mindset, it was kept growing all throughout, and it's very visible throughout his entire life. As you talking about the decision that he made early on about his job and opening an academy and going some of the struggles between making money and not making money, and then obviously the big incident of getting shot in the face by a completely random person, right? And do you remember the fact that when he was talking about that his family didn't even know about any of this?
Oh, yeah. Well,
like his girlfriend was looking for him. And again, I don't want to tell the story because you have to listen to it, but it is just, I don't know. I was completely.
Yeah. And the story is a very, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's a very, tantalizing story. But
raw.
Yeah. But it's very visceral. But the story after and what he's accomplished since then, I think, is the real takeaway. That he didn't pack it up. Recovery was hard. He wasn't allowed to train anymore for almost a year. But as soon as he was, and we didn't talk about this, but it was in my notes, the week he got the clear to compete, he did, and he won open. And that's just, that tells you what kind of person he is. And to grow up as a kid who had severe anxiety, didn't even want to go to kindergarten, to get out there and compete, to put himself out in front of all these people. He runs competitions. You know what it's got to be like for somebody who still has high anxiety to put together a competition where, and they're big competitions. They're not small. And then there's a wonderful, if you take that into consideration, a wonderful story about when he received his black belt.
His black belt? Yeah,
So,
that was classic. I love it.
Yeah, and so it's all these different things that this guy just kept pushing through, getting knocked down, get back up, keep going, seeing the silver linings in certain things, the blessings in things that most people would be like, oh, I just lost my job twice, right? Mm-hmm. He talks two different stories about losing his livelihood, but that really wasn't his calling, and he probably knew it deep down. So he just kept going forward, and look how it's turned out. So,
yeah, I think the big message here is really, when we are in the moment, right now, when we look at things that are right in front of us, things might not be the easiest. Matter of fact, they're hard, and sometimes we have to make very difficult choices. And anxiety is present. We are scared. We are concerned. We don't know what's going to happen next. We can't tell the future. But I think one thing that we can control is, one, the decision that we do make, and two, having a confidence in what we are doing is with the right intentions. And I think if we stick with the simple plan, at the end of the day, things work out. Things happen for a reason. Whether you believe it or not, I tend to believe it. I don't know. What do you think, Gary? Things happen for a reason?
We've talked about this. We talked about that with
somebody.
Yeah, somebody. I can't remember.
Well, this show
it was Rich. It was Rich
right now.
No, it was Rich. It was Rich. And
yeah,
I always think about it more on the back end. It's not, the things don't happen for a reason. It's what you make of it, and what you learn from it, and then grow and you move forward. And something else might happen, good or bad, from it. But it's I would guess that most people would say, yeah, I learned from all these setbacks and they made me who I am today. But I'm sure a couple of them they would have liked to have avoided, or not have had happen, and they would still be the same person, because it's what you do with the hand that you're dealt, more so than that somebody set it there for you on purpose, right?
Yeah.
So I think James pushed through all these negative things, because that's who he was, and he had a great support too, with AJ, his wife. But even if she'd probably tell you that, because she knew him from the time he was a kid, that he would have kept going. And even if she wasn't there, he's the type of person that would have kept going.
Again, it's all about support network, right? It's all about the people who are around us, and it's all about the drive that we have, continuously driving for the goal that we have, right? So, again, great story from James Clingerman. Take a listen,
check it out.
Tune in, check it out. You don't hear many stories like this. That's something else.
Yep, good stuff.
Off to the next one.
Yes, sir. We'll talk soon.
Take care, Gary.
All right, peace.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.